welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got 4 NFL players that will break out in 2025. Let's check this out.
NFL players break out each and every year, and the 2025 season will be no different. Some players that broke out during the 2024 season included guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Zach Bond, and Nick Benito. There were also plenty of rookies that had great years too, like Jaden Daniels, Bucky Irving, and the 2 LSU wide receivers in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and plenty of others as well. And whether it's a player stepping into a role left by a former teammate who left in free agency, or even a guy ahead of them getting traded this offseason, there will be plenty of players that break out during the 2025 season. And in today's video, we're going to break down several players who are in a good position for them to break out. We're going to discuss their strengths as a player, why they haven't broke out yet, and what makes 2025 different for them. Please comment who you think is going to break out this year, and there will be several honorable mentions at the end for players who I think take a big step.
I think he make a Pro Bowl this year.
There is a lot to break down in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin.
Alright. I'm fucking with the new intro though, I ain't gonna lie.
And we are starting today's video with Cardinals wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr.
If Kyler Murray can get him the ball.
Receiving prospect coming out of Ohio State last year, and despite having a near 900-yard season in 2024, in some people's eyes, he did not live up to his pre-draft.
If they really want him to break out, they would go out and get another receiver, bro. Whether it's Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, something like that. They need to go out and get another weapon, bro, if they want him to break out, because that'll prevent double teams and everything if they can get another weapon for him.
And I get it. Despite how good
and then Kyler did miss him a lot last year, you know what I'm saying, when he was wide open, but
there was a reason Marvin Harrison was drafted over both of those guys. He's 6'4", 205 pounds.
He was my wide receiver 3.
A big body receiver. He doesn't move like a typical big body guy. You know, guys that are usually jump ball receivers that are also bulky and usually are not the best route runners due to their physical.
And he put on more muscle in the offseason too.
Agility. Harrison Jr. isn't built like that, and I'm definitely not giving up on him, especially after a year in which he had near double-digit touchdowns. He will play the season at just 23 years old, and what I do think is frustrating for Marvin wasn't the lofty expectations entering his rookie year, because he certainly earned those lofty expectations, but it was the context around his numbers more than anything. Harrison Jr. was on a team last year that wasn't discussed
like 800 yards ain't good for
and whenever that happens, which happens quite a bit with teams that are either in smaller markets or do not have fan bases the size of the Cowboys, Steelers, or any of the other big fan base teams, there's usually a moment or two that people remember most. And unfortunately with Marvin Harrison Jr., it was the NFL debut against the Bills, in which he had just 1 catch for 4 yards. There were people after the first game taking legitimate victory laps about how they knew MHJ was going to be a bust and how they knew he was never going to live up to the hype. Now, I would say they were in the minority of football fans, but they were there and they were loud. And why I am buying into MHJ entering 2025 in a big way is the very next week, aka the second game of Harrison Jr.'s career, he responded with a 4-reception, 130-yard, 2-touchdown performance against the Rams. And whether you remember this or not, he had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns with 3 minutes left in the first quarter. And quite honestly, this was one thing that popped up regularly when watching MHJ's tape from last year, and it's how many passes that were simply uncatchable. There was a pass within this game where Arizona was running a Yankee concept where they have a receiver run deep to be the clear out with MHJ running the crosser underneath, and it was wide open, and Kyler Murray flat out overthrew him, and that happened a lot. Now, you can play the game of what-ifs for the rest of time, but if this pass is where it needs to be, this alone would have had him above 900 yards in the year, and I don't know how much the narrative would have changed by adding a single reception for another 15 to 20 yards, but the point is, he was a bad throw away from a 5-reception, 150-yard, 2-touchdown performance in the first half of his second career game. Harrison also had one of the worst catchable pass rates among receivers in the NFL, as unfortunately there wasn't just one play like this, there were several throughout his rookie year. We
gonna have to have that conversation about Kyler Murray, like real shit. If he don't come to play this year, bro, he gotta go. He gotta go.
62 receptions on 116
As much as I fuck with Kyler, he's too inconsistent.
4% is
way too
bad,
inconsistent,
and I would be very surprised.
He's got all the talent in the world to be a top 10, top 5 QB.
In 2025.
But like, he's just way too inconsistent.
If he had a catch percentage of 60% last year, he would have had between 7 and 8 more receptions, and there's a chance he would have had 1,000 yards as a rookie. I think people are a little low on Harrison Jr. at this point in time and kind of dismiss him because of the years that Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and even Brock Bowers had as pass catchers, and I think MHJ is in for a big 2025. Next up is Michael Penix Jr. of the Atlanta Falcons, and I will be the first to acknowledge that Penix's raw numbers from last year do not
already did a whole
specifically the 3-touchdown to 3-interception part. Now, one thing that I try to do on the channel is to provide context within numbers, and it is not an exaggeration to say that 2 of the 3 interceptions Michael Penix threw last year
I will say this. MPJ to Drake London will be a top 5 connection this year. I'm saying that right now.
Have been interceptions.
A top 5 connection this year.
Do this with every quarterback. Drake May had a big one against the Arizona Cardinals, where the ball was in Kayshon Boutte's arms, bounced right into a DB's arms on a ball that should have been caught. And 2 of the 3 interceptions Penix threw were the exact same thing. Obviously, everyone knows about the Kyle Pitts interception down on the goal line, where if Kyle Pitts catches the pass, he might not necessarily get into the end zone, although it would have been close, and if he would have put his shoulder down, there's a decent chance that he would have had a touchdown and have Penix's touchdown to interception ratio go from 3-3 to 4-2. And not that Penix would be the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen if this play was made and his touchdown to interception ratio looked better than it was, but you get the point as to why the numbers look the way they do. The Panthers interception was also comical in the way that it bounced in a receiver's arms and bounced right into a DB's arms, and I did at least want to provide that context before we really dive into the potential of Michael Penix in 2025. One of the biggest reasons as to why I'm so high on Michael Penix entering 2025 is he is a player that I think could legitimately play in any era, and Penix has one of the strongest arms in the NFL, and when he's kept clean and he can really sit back in the pocket and drive off that back foot and drive through the hips, and when he rips a ball on the dagger route across the middle, it's a really pretty sight, and he attempts passes that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL simply wouldn't because they don't have the arm strength and ultimately the velocity that Penix does when he rips passes across the middle. But Penix isn't just a one-trick pony, and he's not a guy that's throwing 60-mile-an-hour darts across the middle every single play. He also does a really good job layering passes, and there were several throws in his rookie season. Keep in mind, he only attempted 105 throws in 2024, but there were several throws where he would drop passes in between the cover 2 zone, between the corner playing the flat and then the safety playing the deep outside zone, and my jaw dropped in a couple of the plays because these were throws that 5 or 6 year veterans should make, not a rookie in his first couple of starts. To me, there's no throw that Michael Penix can't make, and he also has the arm confidence to back it up. And there is a key distinction between arm confidence
this
and
throw right here.
Confidence to
this
back
throw
it up.
right
And
here,
there is
gang.
a key distinction
between what rookie is making this type of throw, other than probably Jaden Daniels. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if Jaden Daniels even made a throw this tight last year. Oh my gosh, that's nasty.
Arm arrogance to me is a quarterback that throws a pass across the middle knowing it's going to double, maybe even triple coverage, or maybe a hospital ball that he should have no business throwing that ultimately gets the receiver drilled, pops right up in the air, and is an interception going the other way. Penix does a really good job of protecting the football, and he also does a good job of layering passes when he needs to, and he's a really good player that I like heading into the 2025 season, especially when you look at his situation. Unfortunately, Kirk Cousins towards the end of the 2024 season turned the ball over too many times, and as long as Michael Penix does not throw 14 or 15 or 16...
Hold up. Y'all can't see this. Hold up. Hold the fuck up. Look at this shit. 1,100 yards. 1 touchdown to 9 picks. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna lie, bro. It might be time for Kirko to hang up the cleats, nigga. Not gonna lie, bro. Oh my gosh.
This year, he should have a really good season, and from a statistical standpoint, I don't think a 4,200 yard, 25 to 27 passing touchdown season is out of the equation for him. Obviously, with the success of Jaden Daniels, and obviously with the attention around Caleb Williams and Drake May, and even Bo Nix leading the Broncos to the playoffs, there was a lot of noise around the 2024 draft class, but I really like the situation Michael Penix is in. He obviously can hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier at any point, and also has a really good receiver in Drake London.
And that's very important for
the future is still out on Kyle Pitts as he is just
game.
25 years old, and there were flashes throughout the 2024 season. But the bottom line for Michael Penix as to why I'm high on him in 2025 is he's a really good player, he has a lot of arm talent, and he's also in a good situation behind a good offensive line, has a good run game, and a really good number 1 receiver in Drake London. I don't think Michael Penix is going to be a perfect player by any means and be the best quarterback from the 2024 class after 2 seasons and surpass Jaden Daniels, but I really do think he will break out in 2025, and I can't wait to see the Falcons play this year. Next up is a Minnesota Vikings player, and it is surprisingly not J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy certainly applies for today's video, and I do think he will break out in 2025, but I also think edge rusher Dallas Turner will too.
Given that McCarthy is a the thing is, like, he's kind of in a rough spot where he's not really going to be getting first-team reps with Van Ginkel and Grenard, you know what I'm saying, being the primary edge rushers, but I could see him breaking out, but it's going to be hard, bro, playing behind both of them guys. You know what I'm saying? Unless they can find a way to get all 3 of them on the field at the same time. I don't know. I could definitely see him breaking out, though.
Who just threw for over 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns and also led his team to 14 victories in the regular season. Naturally, there's going to be a lot of discussion around McCarthy, and I get it. But Dallas Turner was also a first-round pick in 2024 for Minnesota, and I think he is one of the least talked about first-round picks from last year, unless it is to remind Vikings fans they took him over Rams pass rusher Jared Verse. The situations for Turner and Verse are significantly different, but one of the reasons I am buying in with Dallas Turner entering 2025 is due in large part to the situation he's in. And again, when you hear about the Vikings entering 2025, it usually has to deal with the situation J.J. McCarthy's in, throwing passes to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson, all behind a much improved offensive line, and ground game for that matter too. But the Vikings significantly improved their defensive line, and Dallas Turner also gets to play alongside 2 Pro Bowlers from last year in Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard. Now, I know there will naturally be some concern about Turner being able to even get on the field due to having those 2 players in front of him, but he still played over 300 offensive snaps in his rookie year and had a few good plays. He had 3 sacks during his rookie year as well as an interception, and one thing I know Vikings fans know that is not discussed probably as much as it should be, but Turner is just 22 years old.
Now, I think one way they could definitely get him on the field, because Van Ginkel is very versatile, you know what I'm saying? He can obviously rush the passer. He had double-digit sacks last year, but he can also drop back in coverage. So what I think they probably going to do is, like, occasionally probably have Van Ginkel start off on the edge and then drop back and then have Dallas Turner take his spot around the edge along with Grenard on the other side. That would be nasty little setup right there. I'm not gonna lie.
The Vikings first-round picks.
Go ahead and make me a defensive coordinator.
Each player was selected at just 21 years old. A lot of rookies in the NFL are 22 or even older, and for Dallas to get to play in the NFL at 21 while getting to learn behind the 2 stars in front of him in Grenard and Van Ginkel, well, needless to say, he's in a really good situation for himself to succeed. He was the 2023 SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and not only that, but Texans pass rusher Will Anderson, aka Turner's former teammate at the University of Alabama, thought he was going to be a star and that he was going to absolutely kill it once he got to the league. I also understand and acknowledge there's going to be a crowd that dismisses that and basically say, well, every player is going to hype up their former teammate, and I get it, but for Dallas Turner specifically, the talent is there and so is the plan. One of my concerns for prospects every year is players going to a bad landing spot, and that a franchise basically says, we drafted you high, figure it out, and a lot of the time it's not a good situation because the player was not set up for success to begin with. He gonna figure out a way. Turner is asked to do several different things, whether it's get after the quarterback or even drop back in coverage at times. We saw Turner have an interception against the Seahawks, and with how complicated Flores' defense is, I wasn't surprised to see Turner, in theory, have a disappointing rookie season. But with his work ethic, the situation he's in, and another year under his belt, and again, given that he is just 22 years old, I really think he is going to break out this year. The Vikings had just 2 players in all of 2024 have 35 or more pressures, and they were obviously Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel.
And Patrick Jones, bro, he had 7 sacks for them last year.
2024 was a dipping toe in the water type year for him, and the plan all along was to have him ready for 2025 and beyond. And at just 22 years old, I think Dallas Turner breaks out this year in a big way. Cowboys center Cooper Beebe is a player I really liked in the draft process last year coming out of Kansas State, and to me, he was the epitome of a high floor, not necessarily high ceiling, but a high floor starter that should start for the next several years, and through one season, his career has played out exactly like that. I don't think Cooper Beebe is going to be the next Travis Frederick and make several Pro Bowls and be in the Cowboys Ring of Honor, but he should be a solid starter for the next couple of years, and I do think he will break out in 2025. I really think the Cowboys do a lot of things right as a franchise, and I know a lot of people like to get their jokes in specifically about the NFC Championship game streak, but they are doing everything they can within reason to help Dak Prescott, whether it was trade for George Pickens, whether it was draft an offensive lineman in the first round and Tyler Booker, who I think will be a good player as well, and to effectively complete the offensive line. I really like what Dallas has done over the past couple of years to legitimately give Dak Prescott a chance, and ultimately I do think Cooper Beebe will improve upon what was a solid rookie season, especially for a third-round pick. Dalton Kincaid was the Bills' first-round pick back in 2023, and he had a really good rookie season, all things considered. He had over 670 yards, and he only had 2 touchdowns, but what has to be remembered, not just for Dalton Kincaid, but for any Bills skill position player, a lot of the time they are going to sacrifice touchdowns because of how often Josh Allen runs the football in the red zone. But anytime Buffalo drafts Dalton Kincaid, or Kansas City drafts Xavier Worthy, or Baltimore drafts Zay Flowers, a lot of the time you're going to have lofty expectations because of who is throwing passes to them. Now, I do think Dalton Kincaid disappointed in 2024 relative to the player we thought he was going to be, but I don't think his career is over by any stretch of the imagination, and I think he will have a 1,000-yard season at some point in his career. Maybe not in 2025, but he is just 26 years old, or will be just 20. But he will be just 26 years old in October, and I really like the potential of Kincaid in this offense. I know the title of today's video is 4 players that will break out in 2025, but I wanted to include a couple of extras, and I think Dalton Kincaid certainly applies. I would be really surprised if his rookie season proves to be his peak, because he was a really good prospect coming out of Utah, and the flashes have been there over the first couple of years. At this point, it's just about consistency, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he has a 65-catch, 800-yard 2025 season in route to a potential Bills Super Bowl appearance. Ravens corner Nate Wiggins was a first-round pick
Nate Wiggins.
I thought he improved as the year went on. You know what I'm saying? To show the flashes he did as a 21-year-old rookie.
It's my dog right there.
To get better as the season went on, to me, is nothing promising moving forward. The Ravens are a really well-run organization, and they do a lot of things the right way, and there's a reason they have been successful year in and year out. Marlon Humphrey will be 29 years old during the 2025 season, and corners usually do not have a graceful drop-off. Usually it is they are good one season, and then they are not good the next, and that's usually how it goes. And the reason that it goes like that is because when offensive coordinators and head coaches are in the film room, they can really pick up on a player's negatives or pick up on bad habits that a player may fall into once their physical ability goes. And not to say that Marlon is going to drop off this season specifically, but it will happen at some point. And for the Ravens to draft a really good player in Nate Wiggins, who fell into their laps due to injury concerns because of how slender his physical build is a good representation of why the Ravens are so good at what they do.
He strapped
up
Jamar Chase,
also
though.
lost corner Brandon Stevens in free agency, and while Nate Wiggins only started 6 games during the rookie year,
and people be like, well, Jamar Chase, he owned y'all last year. Yeah, the two niggas that fried last year, they ain't on the team no more. Brandon Stevens, Marcus Williams. Oh yeah, I forgot about Eddie Jackson too. They not on the team no more. We got Malachi Starks now. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, Jamar Chase, get ready to get locked up this season, gang. Real shit.
He's healthy. I fully expect him to be out there in 2025 and to play at a high level. I also wanted to shout out Cardinals third-year pass rusher B.J. Ojulari, as I've been a big B.J. Ojulari fan for a couple of years, and I thought he was going to break out in 2024, but unfortunately he sustained a season-ending injury before his season could get started. Please comment below who you think is going to break out this year, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it helps with the almighty YouTube algorithm tremendously, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Hey man, shit. I want to know what you guys think, Don Constable. Who y'all think is gonna break out in 2025, bro? I already said Nate Wiggins. Obviously, was in the vid. I'm trying to think of somebody else who I think is gonna break out this year. It's hard, like, bro. It's too many damn players to think about. I'ma say, I'ma go on a limb here. I'm going to say Tyree Wilson. Hopefully he breaks out, because he's got all the tangibles to be a great pass rusher, bro. They drafted him in the first round a couple years ago. hopefully Max Crosby has been teaching them a few things. You know what I'm saying? So that's my pick for a breakout this year. But hey, man, so I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I want to react to. Without further ado, I'm
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.